What's up, everyone? Happy Friday. It's been a minute since a video, but just wanted to get some information off today about where we are in the cycle, some mistakes that traders do in crypto, and I'm talk about a few different alts today and why we want to chart it against the USD chart, the Bitcoin chart, and the Ethereum chart from another highly technical YouTube trader analyst and his strategy for buying altcoins and his portfolio and going through the charts. So let's get into it. Some exciting times in crypto right now, and hope you guys enjoy this video. Alright, so let's just start off with the market today. Looking at the Bitcoin charts first. I know we had some scary times recently, but let's just look at the charts here. Similar to mid-April when you drop down to like 47, 46K, we actually wicked even lower this time to like 45, 46K. The charts still aren't looking that great for Bitcoin right now, which is a little worrisome, but we did bounce off this previous support, and look how strong this volume is, stronger than any volume even dating back to January. This was the biggest volume candle right here yesterday. So price got wicked down. The bears are trying to step in after the Elon tweet, and then buyers, institutions, retail stepped in, bought the price up, and we held this range. So we want to see if this range right here around 48K, 47K holds. If not, we break down, then go back down lower to maybe the low 40s. So that's something to keep in note. We're not out of the woods yet, but we did bounce back. And let's look at Ethereum. Let's see. So here's the Ethereum our daily chart. We did retest support here. So here's my support or resistance previously drawn that we broke through around 36, 3500. Looks like we retested that. And then today, bullish green candle continuing the move. And you could see this red line right here. We retested the 9-day EMA and bounced off it cleanly. And we're currently at, look at these prices are off. I don't know what's wrong with TradingView right now, but it's showing us 39.30, but actually price right now is 4,050 for ETH. And the ETH BTC chart, which is showing the ratio of Ethereum price over Bitcoin price, you can see that Ethereum, despite the drop yesterday, we held the top of the range, and then still bullish move up today towards the next resistance around 0.085 satoshis, and then you can see our future targets. And it's crazy because when I first started the channel, started the Instagram, we were down all the way down here, and I was predicting that ETH would break these resistances and then retest it as support, then hopefully move up. Look how much we've outperformed what I talked about, predicted before. So it's crazy. You can never predict these markets. It can go faster, it can go up higher than you thought. Look at it, just broke the trend line like it was nothing and just busted up past it and continue this move up. Something I want to talk about in this video is also the downside to the possibility of ETH BTC chart we're looking at. Everybody always wants to look at the potential gains, but nobody thinks about the potential downside, and that's something you have to assess before you're getting into any play, whether it's a stock market, whether it's crypto. You have to look at the rewards and look at the risk. But where we are compared to the previous ETH BTC top, so back here in June 2017, back here at the big alt season at the end when Bitcoin hit 20K, so this is in like January 2018. Alt season peaked a month after that. we are getting close to these levels. So here on TradingView, you can just use this tool. So on the left side here, you can do price range, and you can just pick any price and just scale it to whatever the price is, but I already did it here earlier. You can see where we are at around 0.08. So our first target is around 0.085. So literally, like, what are we, like 5% away from that. So if we flip that and break past that, I'd assume our next target is around here, around 0.1 satoshis on the ratio, and so that's another 31%. Or if we go to the next target here, 53%, or to the previous all-time high peak back from June 2017, around 0.15, 0.16 sats, you got a 93% possible gain still. So those are the possible targets for ETH BTC, where you should be looking to possibly take profits, or just to see how price reacts to these different levels. But look at the downside too. So saw how we moved up so crazy. We're on the weekly chart right here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're in the 7th straight week of just crazy bullishness, crazy green candles, right? No red. But like anything in life, nothing keeps going great forever. Nothing stays green forever. There will be bumps along the road. So charting to see where the next possible support would be, right here. This historical support all the way dating back to July 2017. So this 0.0768 around Satoshi range, it could drop down. This would be a 14% drop. Or even if you go back down even lower to this support, dating all the way back to like October 2017, you can see another 33% drop. So these are possible areas to look at if Ethereum price starts underperforming Bitcoin, or if Bitcoin goes on a crazy run. So you have to look at the downside risk as well. Alright, so I wanted to highlight this video I saw from Altcoin Daily. They interviewed another YouTuber called BitBoy Crypto. See, I don't really mess with BitBoy. He kind of sensationalizes a lot of plays, and I feel like he may lead people the wrong way, but he provides some great points here. So let's watch that. So top 3 mistakes. Since a lot of you guys I know are new to the cryptocurrency space, he discusses a lot of the psychological aspects and the mistakes that newer crypto traders, investors might fall to. And I've done it before. We've all done it. If you've been in this space a while, just listen closely and we'll talk about it.
Currency YouTube usually is sort of the first line of defense for new people coming into the space and learning about cryptocurrency. From your POV, what are some of the top 3 mistakes new cryptocurrency investors should avoid?
Yeah, I would say the number 1 mistake that a lot of people, participate in, I guess you can say, or make, is not understanding what they're investing in. And I think that, it's very easy when you come into the top of a bull market to make money on anything. You know that. But all those people that are making the money at the top, they're going to lose all the money because they don't understand what they're investing in. They don't understand the long-term potential. They don't understand the difference between, Safe Moon and, Ethereum. Like, they're just, to them, it's just something somebody told me to put money in. So you have to understand what you're investing in. That's number 1. And number 2.
All right. So first thing, right? He talked about understanding what you're investing in. This is a big misconception with cryptos. Similar to the stock market, right? You could think of blue chip companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, that are solid companies. They have great infrastructure, a great product. They provide a great service, right? Or you could think of penny stocks that are merely a gamble, and you could obviously still make money on them. They could be great plays, but you have to be very careful. You have to time your entries and your exits, and then you can't necessarily view them as much of long-term investments as you can do the blue chips like Apple, right? So you could think of cryptocurrency the same way. You got to understand what you're investing in, what you're getting into, and then have a plan and some type of knowledge, understanding, background of what you're buying. So this is the first mistake he talks about, not understanding what you're investing in, right? Such as Doge, Shiba, coins people talking about, Safe Moon. Like, I'm not mad at anybody getting into those plays, but just know what you're getting into, have a game plan, and know the risk involved.
I would say getting lost in between the euphoria and the depression, because right now we're in euphoria. I mean, we're not technically yet, right? But everybody's excited. People are making money. Like, things are great. In the bear market, it will be like depression. And when you get caught in between those two emotions, it affects what you're doing. And so at the top of the market, you're putting money into stupid stuff you've never heard of, just trying to, whatever. And you're talking about, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire in 3 months. In the bear market, you're looking at an Ethereum that's $80 and you're saying, oh God, it's overvalued. Like, oh, this is so terrible. Like, imagine like getting, a 40x or whatever it is approximately if you would have bought Ethereum when I think it went down to $79 or something at the low point after the March crash. So the thing is you really have to understand the weight that your emotions have on you in investing. I mean, really, that's what charts are. Charts are 100% psychology. That's only tracking human behavior and its tendencies to buy or sell based upon the value of an asset going up or down. I mean, that's what charts are. So those would be the two things. And the number three thing I would say.
All right. So the second point was not getting caught up in the emotions. So right here, stop being so emotional. There's a lot of shakeouts on dips. So when crypto drops historically, so let's look at the Ethereum chart, right? Literally here in take out the drawings. Here in December 2018, look, like he said exactly, Ethereum was 80 bucks, 78 bucks, and we got back to 80 bucks again in March 2020 when crypto crashed like 50% in a day. But if you were knowledgeable enough, you understood the space. Me, I didn't take full advantage of this, I'll admit. I still was kind of new to the space, but have a deeper understanding now. You would have went heavy around here at the bottom. You may not have caught the exact bottom, but we're on the weekly chart. You had time to accumulate at these low levels, like sub 100 or even mid $100 Ethereum, and now we're at 4,000. So you would have 40 times your money if you weren't emotional or you just literally understood the markets. You knew what you were doing. Opportune times to buy when there's extreme fear, and sell when there's greed. And you could tell just the news and hearing other people talk about crypto, we're at the greed stage. We're not, we may not be at the top, but we're getting closer to there. And I actually forgot to talk about this as well. So look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. You can see on the front page of HomeGecko, we're at 39% of Bitcoin taking the total market share, and Ethereum gaining to 20%. Look at here. Bitcoin dominance has dropped so much, right? And look at the RSI. We're at levels not seen since May 2017. Literally, history is repeating. June 2017. But look, we touched 3 times here in March, in May, and June. So we may repeat a similar fate here. But look, this is why you can't do RSI just by itself. Alright, so March 2017, right? RSI bottom to, sorry, let me move this to like what, 15? So super low, right? 15 RSI. But we're still all the way up here at 70% dominance of Bitcoin. But then what? It kept going lower. It went all the way down here. And then the second time it touched this bottom was here in May. And then we still kept going lower. So you can't just say, oh, RSI is low, it's going to bounce back. So you have to look at the whole picture. But look at this. We've broken down the level of point or 50% that we talked about before, and we're all the way at 40% now. So thinking or looking at the previous support ranges for Bitcoin dominance, we had one here around like 37%, 36%. And I drew the downside, so there's still 8% to go there. Or if we go to the absolute bottom, back in January 2018 when we had the peak alt season after Bitcoin hit 20K, we were down at like 32, 33%, so there's still 18% downside to go if we test these historical lows. So you can see how much we've ran down already. It's crazy. Let's see if we just, from breaking this, we've already ran down like 28%. Yeah, so it's already ran down a lot. There's only like 18% maximum downside unless we break past this and go even lower. But you can see a lot of the move possibly has already happened too. So think of the risk associated with getting into alts right now, and this is the inverse of what we were just looking at with Bitcoin dominance. We're looking at altcoin dominance, right? The percentage of altcoins taking the market cap of crypto. So like we talked about before, I drew this RSI right here dating back to May 2017. Look, we blew past that right here, broke straight past that level, and now we're touching the RSI for the first time here, similar to what we talked about here. RSI touched 3 times, March, May, June. Look at this, RSI touched March, May, June, since this is the exact inverse, right? And look at the levels that we're at now. We're at our first touch on RSI. We're literally almost to the June levels of 2017. So we're getting very close to possibly peaking on the altcoin season. Just being more cautious here, just knowing where we are in the cycle of the market. And from where we are, I drew the percent ranges to certain targets or resistance. So the first one is 7%, about 65%. We're at like almost 60% altcoin dominance right now, and the highest point ever was 67%. So literally only 7% to like 12% to go for these alts. So a lot of the move possibly has already happened, but doesn't mean that there can still be further gains to go. But just understand where we are in the cycle and then take profits appropriately. Obviously not financial advice, like I always say, but just know where we are and possibly take the proper precautions into mind. And the altcoin season index, highlighted this in a previous video. Look, we had the index at 100 for about from April, May, June, even to July, so 4 months at 100, but we haven't even hit 100 yet here for this cycle. So we possibly still might have a long ways to go, but it is just getting riskier and riskier as we see Bitcoin dominance drop. We can see just Bitcoin have a crazy run, right? And altcoins, our altcoin dominance is nearing significant highs. All right, so let's finish this.
Is just not taking profits. Understand, like, I'm taking profits now.
Third problem that he had for new investors is not taking profits. What I always try to emphasize.
Significant amount. I mean, we bought a new building, so we pull money out to do that. That's a tangible asset in real life that, I have now that won't be going away. So taking profits along the way when you're making money, like, greed takes over people. You just say, like, they always say, like, you have 2 different types of people, when they start making a lot of money. Like, one person, they will be more like, I want all the money and I'm going to take all the money and I'm going to keep it all to myself. And they're going to become very like miserly and stingy and whatever. And then you got other people that you start making a lot of money. You start looking at like how you can help people and how you can, how you can grow your wealth. But it's not like, where it's all you think about. And I think that for the people that get really stingy, they get way too greedy with things. I think, like, as long as you're able to take your profits and help people or help your family or whatever the case may be, you're gonna be in a good spot. When you start getting to a point where you want to keep every single penny, every single dime for yourself, you stop taking profits because you just think, oh, well, if I take, 5% out here, eventually that could grow into much, much more down the road. And that's how people get, that go from being worth nothing to $1 million in a year, and then back to nothing in a year. So I would say you definitely want to take profits along the way, whether it's a few percent. Just use common sense. If you have a coin that goes up 300 or 400%, That's incredible money. Like, you'll never make that in the stock market. You'd have to compound your gains on the stock market for like 20 years to be able to get returns like that, I guess. I mean, I invest in Coinbase, that stock. Peloton, that's another one I have. And like, it might be able to double in price in 5 years, I was told. So like, you know, we're so lucky in cryptocurrency that we have these kind of life-changing gains that we can get. You got to understand that market cycle. I mean, that's kind of part of being educated and understanding the emotions, but the number one most important thing to learn in crypto is the market cycles. And that's how we all have been able to predict these price rises. Like, our numbers may not be the exact same, but we all knew this was coming. You know, it's because we understand the history. So understanding the history, getting educated, learning to take profits, and not getting caught in the emotions of the market, I think are the key ways that you're going to be able to do well in cryptocurrency.
Yeah. There you go. Always the importance of taking profits, right? Like MATIC, right? Being, like you said, a coin's up 300-400% and you're still greedy and you still think it can keep going and you don't take profits. Of course it can still keep going. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but you always want to lock in some profits. You don't got to sell all of it. You can sell a portion of it, 10, 15, 20, I don't know, 30%, 40, 50%, whatever you feel comfortable at, taking profits at certain levels or certain targets. And you could either take your profits into Bitcoin, Ethereum, like a stable coin like Tether or USDC, or just take it into US dollars, whatever it is. You always want to make sure that you're taking profits on the way up. Just as the way you dollar cost average into any coin on the way down, you dollar cost out on the way up. Okay, and I talked about understanding the downside risk to any play as well. And let's talk about this vid. This is from Altcoin Daily as well. They interviewed this other analyst. I just found out about him, man. He's a great TA YouTuber and provides a lot of great education, puts multiple videos out daily. He'll explain what his portfolio is, how he does TA, his top plays, and we'll see why he charts each coin against a dollar, the Bitcoin pair and the Ethereum pair, as I've discussed in most videos as well, to see which is the most bullish coin and which way you can get the most bang for your buck. All right, so let's start here.
You know, I didn't come from like a background in finance or anything. Sort of picked it up along the way, but I more so just look for long-term trends in the market, long-term patterns. Some of them play out how I think, some of them don't. I'd like to think, you know, I'm right more often than I'm wrong. But you know, I think that the key thing is to realize that, you know, short-term moves are very difficult to predict, and I don't try to do that. And I just use more of a data science perspective to sort of investigate what's going on in the market and what are some theoretical limitations to price pushes, and what's the downside risk. Okay, because a lot of people always talk about what's the upside potential, but a lot of people won't discuss like the downside risk to any given asset. So that's sort of what we cover on the channel. Try to keep people grounded, generally speaking.
Absolutely, like he talked about, it's very hard to time this market intraday or a few days, even months out. But having a long-term perspective, you can kind of have a broader view and know what moves possibly could be coming based on previous historical cycles, the Bitcoin halving, the 4-year cycles that we've talked about in previous videos. Go ahead and look back into those too, where we are, what year in the 4-year cycle we are, and how Bitcoin moves and how alts move in relation to the halving and the 4-year cycles as well. And he also talked about the downside risk, right, that we tried to highlight. And let's see, he's going to talk about his portfolio right now.
Ben, appreciate you sharing all this stuff with us. And again, guys, everybody should be subscribed to Ben's channel. Link is in the description. But my question is this: I know the 5 coins that you're fans of on your channel are Bitcoin, ETH, Polkadot, ADA, and Link.
Okay, so they said Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, ADA, and Link. But he'll speak about it later, that Link is probably his number 3, Cardano, and Polkadot. those are his top plays.
As you said, it's hard to compare Bitcoin, a trillion-dollar asset, to these lower cap coins. But as far as your personal conviction goes, what percentage of your crypto portfolio is Link?
So okay, so giving a specific number is not. I'll give you a range. Okay, so giving a specific number, it's hard to do because we know that how volatile crypto is, right? I mean, like what my percentage was last week could easily be different than what it is this week. Not because Link has done anything remarkable, but it has. I mean, it has gone up a few dollars. But because Ethereum has been climbing like crazy, and Ethereum is a higher percentage of my portfolio than Chainlink is. So generally, Bitcoin is my highest percent, and I try to keep that. Typically, again, there can be exceptions to the rule, but I try to keep Bitcoin between 50 to 90. 90, 90 is sort of like the upper end, and that's sort of like if you're taking all your profits from altcoins back to.
You hear that? He said Bitcoin 50 to 90% of your portfolio. That's what a lot of people are getting messed up on, not having Bitcoin in their portfolio, saying it's too expensive, but you want to try to have Bitcoin possibly as a majority or somewhat of a large percent of your portfolio. Bitcoin is not going to gain as much, but also won't lose as much, and it's the most time tested, has the most institutional backing, limited supply, on blah blah blah. Watch the other videos, we've talked about it multiple times, but 50 to 90% he says. This is just his opinion. I'm just trying to relay the news, not financial advice.
Bitcoin at the end of the market cycle, and then Bitcoin crashes, and then if altcoins crash, they crash harder than Bitcoin, so then you end up being like 90% Bitcoin. And then 50% I think is sort of the lower bound, because when you get too far below that, you're really testing the waters there, and we know what happens when the market goes down. So for Link, I generally like to say probably somewhere between, for me about 10 to 15%, which is probably among the highest altcoin positions I would have. Bitcoin being number one, Ethereum being number two, and then Link, ADA, and DOT. And by the way, I always say it, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT. And the reason I say it in that order is because that's the order I think they should be. And so yeah, I would say somewhere around that percentage. But again, I think that we do a lot of analysis on the channel related to Sharpe ratios, Sortino ratios, looking at modern portfolio theory to come to these portfolio weights, not just throwing a number in the air, but how do you maximize your risk-adjusted returns? And personally, I think 10 to 15% Link is great, and you can't really argue with the results. I mean, it's been doing phenomenally well over the last several years.
I love it. Austin, any final questions?
Great conversation, Ben. I hope you come back again.
Okay, so talked about Link, right? And we talked about Link previously as an Oracle play, right? So Oracle, it's about $46 now. I think the high was like $50 earlier in the week. And here's a quick way you could actually see if it's at its all-time high against Ethereum and Bitcoin. So we're on CoinGecko, right? You look up Link, and this blue line right here is the USD price. So you can see like 50 bucks, 49.5 on May 9th, or yeah, 50 bucks. But this orange right here and this red are the Ethereum and Bitcoin prices. So the B is like 89,000, and then the Ethereum is like 0.013. But if you put it to here at the previous peak, let's see, August 2020, it was like 161,000 and 0.04 compared to 0.14 or yeah, 0.14 and like 85. So you still got a lot of room to go up, like double. And this is why we don't just chart here on the USD chart. We want to get the most bang for our buck. So we have to look at the Ethereum chart and the Bitcoin chart. Let's look at the Ethereum chart. Zoom out to the weekly. Look at this. We have dropped 76% against Ethereum. So that means Ethereum has outperformed Link since August 2020 by 76%. So the better play would have been to be in Ethereum at this time. And this is why you want to chart all the pairs. So US dollar chart, okay, it's doing well, going to all-time highs, but you can see how long it consolidated from February to like April, from August to January, but Ethereum ran way harder than this during that time span. So this is why we chart them to see which plays you should be in rather to that have the most momentum. And so the Ethereum targets from where we are right now, let's see. So 69% to this first target, around 0.019 ETH, or if we go here to this resistance right here, let's try right there, like a 60% growth, or we could even pull this down more. Let's see. So there, 171, or if you go all the way to the highest point, 300% gain against ETH. So these would be some targets I would look at to take profits at. And looking at the Link Bitcoin pair, you can see we broke the downtrend. We retested somewhat the trend line, and then we've continued our move up. And if we chart it towards the peak of the Chainlink Bitcoin pair, we got about 78% left to go. And if you go to the first target, maybe around this range, like 30 to 40% gain against Bitcoin. So let's say you put a Chainlink or one Bitcoin into Chainlink right here, right? And you're predicting, or your target is 78%. You can turn that one Bitcoin into 1.78 Bitcoin by putting it in Chainlink. So instead of just holding your Bitcoin and waiting for the price to run up, you could possibly trade it and then grow your Bitcoin faster. But there also is risk involved, of course. This can go down, you could lose your Bitcoin. So there is definitely a fine line that you want to be careful with when you're trying to do these trades. Okay, so we got the Chainlink, and basically this whole video right here about Cardano is going to be really important. All right, we'll just dig into it.
Go ahead and jump in, because I think one of the key things to do when you talk about investing in altcoins is to really look at the data and say, hey, holding altcoins is super risky, and they need to be at least outperforming Bitcoin, because if they can't outperform the king, then why do you hold them? Because altcoins have more downside risk. I mean, imagine a world where Bitcoin has a capitulation. I'm not saying it would now, but in the future, Bitcoin will have a dump at some point. That's what it does, and it corrects.
All right, so there, exactly, he explained it right there. Why would you hold an altcoin if it's underperforming Bitcoin like it is right here? It's like this whole time from August to January, Link was underperforming Bitcoin. So you'd rather be in Bitcoin during this time period, and then when Chainlink breaks out, you'd rather be in Chainlink again. But overall, you can see here, Link is red. Link has outperformed this yellow, which is Bitcoin during this time. That's a cool chart.
It's what happens between those corrections that's important. And during that correction, we know that altcoins will bleed. So if the altcoin can't outperform Bitcoin, then in my opinion, there's no reason holding it. Can ADA outperform it? Well, this chart shows the normalized ROI from March 13th of 2020. You might wonder why it shows that date. That was when everything capitulated. Okay, that was the day that everything basically just went down 60%. Everyone woke up, and it was like a gut punch to the stomach when you just see your entire portfolio down 60%. And so it sort of washed everything out. And we said, well, what is the ROI from that day? And
yeah, he talked about the crash from March 2020, right? So he also said that Bitcoin always doesn't dump as hard as alt. So you'll see more gain to the upside for the altcoins, but also more downside with the altcoins compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just a more stable asset. So think of Bitcoin like Amazon or something, where it's not going to gain as much, but it's more stable, more secure.
And the yellow line is Bitcoin, okay? And a lot of the coins that I talk about, you may notice that DOT's not on here. DOT wasn't trading on the open market back in March, so that's why it's not here. But we also follow some other coins on the channel. We occasionally talk about VeChain, very occasionally talk about XLM, but this is not one I talk about that frequently. And you'll notice that Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin in the bull market. Link outperforms it. ADA outperforms it. I mean, all of these coins here, you see they're outperforming Bitcoin in the bull market. And that is the first thing you need to justify holding the coin in the first place. So we speculated back then that they should outperform it. And by the way, I have a chart that also has about 20 other.
Okay, so all these alts have outperformed Bitcoin from March 2020 to current, right? And then that one website we were on before, Blockchain Center, for the Altcoin Season Index, you can pull up like the last year. You can see Bitcoin went up 350%, Ethereum 1600%. What else did he talk about? VeChain doubled basically Ethereum 3400%. Link 900%, so 3 times Bitcoin, but look, Link underperformed ETH. And where else is on here? Yeah, Cardano, they're 3,200%. So Cardano outperformed Ethereum by double.
Altcoins on here, and the reason why they're not on here is because they did not outperform Bitcoin, or they haven't yet. And so you really want to get
colors or something.
What?
I thought maybe you didn't include all those other coins because you just ran out of colors.
No, yeah.
And these ones on the right underperform Bitcoin. So Tezos, EOS, Dash, these ones, the worst performance in Bitcoin. There's a very select few. So you don't really want to be in those, right?
Yeah, there's about like, I think we started with about like 25 different coins or something, and most don't really stand the test of time. Now, I should say the first thing we have to do is we always have to be fair to Bitcoin. We have to pay our dues to Bitcoin. To some degree, this type of chart is punishing Bitcoin because it didn't dump as bad as the altcoins did, right? So the ROI as measured from Bitcoin's dump might not be as great, but it also didn't crash as hard as the altcoins did either. So again, it's not the fairest comparison to the king of crypto, but I just have to put that caveat in there. So we look at ADA and we say, okay, guys, it's up at like what 60, 70x since March of 2020. Clearly, it's standing the test of time so far, and I think it will continue to stand the test of time. And one of the things we can look at are the different valuations we have against the US dollar, against Bitcoin, and against Ethereum. Okay, so we look at ADA on against the US dollar, and it goes through these phases similar to what we saw Ethereum do last market cycle. Okay, when you look at a bull market in its entirety, it might seem like things just go up forever, right? Here's Ethereum, but if you go back to last cycle, there were periods for Ethereum when it mostly just went sideways for a year, or even in this situation didn't even put in a consequential new high and continue on for about a year. And so I'm not saying that ADA is going to be range bound for a year, but we have to recognize that phases like this do exist in the bull market, and they're not a bad thing. If you don't get phases like this, what ends up happening, right? Well, you get something that looks like 2017 where it just goes straight up and straight back down. And believe me, as someone who's lived through these markets, I mean, I know you guys have as well, but speaking to the audience, this is fun, but it's also a lot more stressful than this, where you just sort of you go up and then sideways and then up and then sideways, and occasionally you have a correction, a more systematic correction, maybe down to the 20-week SMA. So you go up and sideways, up and sideways, up, and then sideways, and then we went back down, tested the 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, whichever you prefer, and then we just continue to move. And we're sort of doing the same thing. And obviously there's the downside risk, and we're not going to pretend like there's not. In a bull market, we know that the 20-week SMA is the minimum downside risk, right? And for ADA, it currently ranges from about 89 cents up to 93 cents. So the great thing about ADA staying range bound for so long is the 20-week moving average has come to us rather than us going to the 20-week moving average in terms of ADA. Now, that doesn't mean we have to hold it. If you look at Ethereum, there was a phase last cycle where we actually briefly, very, very briefly went below it. And so that's just something to consider. But in the grand scheme of the cycle, you can see that Ethereum mostly held that 20-week moving average, right? And there were phases where it just trended sideways around that 20-week moving average, this being the main time that it had a dump below, representing a great reaccumulation phase. So going back to ADA, I see this as still a very much a long-term play. Now, buying ADA at $1.37 is a lot riskier than buying it at 2 cents. And I know you guys were talking about ADA when it was just trading for pennies as well. So obviously, talking about ADA or buying ADA when it's 2 cents is a lot less risky. But in the grand scheme of the cycle, I do think ADA has a ways to go. I don't think $1.
So yeah, he talks about thinking about the downside risk, right? You're buying a lot higher up here compared to when it was down here, so there is more risk, but it doesn't mean that you're getting in too late or it's the top of the cycle already. There's still a lot of potential left.
36 is the market cycle top by any means, or $1.50. Market cycle tops don't look like this, or even local tops. They don't tend to look like this. Again, just going back to Ethereum, the major moves like that, where you have these tops, it's a huge move over several weeks, followed by a long consolidation period. Every major blow off top that Ethereum had was followed by a long accumulation, or a long period like this, but none of those sideways movement areas represented, say, the new top, right? It didn't represent the new top. we ultimately were able to break out eventually. And so with ADA, I would say looking at its valuation against USD is great. What's more important, looking at its valuation against Bitcoin, okay? And we can use this to maybe talk about the theoretical upside. We've been, currently we're trading at around 23,000 or 2,300 satoshis.
So here we go. Why we chart against Bitcoin, not just the US dollar chart.
The obvious place that maybe we'd be looking forward to would be this area, which would be a 79% move. For say like an invariant Bitcoin, which we know Bitcoin's not going to be invariant, but if it were an invariant Bitcoin, if we got say like let's say ADA went up 80% from the current prices, let's see what that would be. That would put us, right around 241 or so. And so I really like looking at its valuation against Bitcoin and its valuation against Ethereum, because these types of measurements are not like against USD, we expect it to go up, right? Like over the long haul, if we're picking these projects, we expect it to go up against USD, because if it didn't, like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we wasting our time for? But they don't necessarily have to go up against Ethereum. They don't necessarily have to go up against Bitcoin forever, right? There could be these governing areas where it moves between. A great example is the ADA Ether valuation, okay? And this is one I love talking about on the channel, because we have these local tops here, and the only times we've been able to move past these local tops was when we're in a bull market like this and here, okay? When ADA had this crazy move. And so I tend to think, you know what? It's possible that ADA goes into these crazy valuations against Ethereum that it hasn't seen before, and goes up into these levels. But I certainly would not ever sell my Ethereum for ADA when it's up here, because the first rule of crypto is, right, you don't go chase the pump. But there are times.
All right, so Cardano over Ethereum pair, right? So this means when it's up here, Cardano is significantly outperforming Ethereum. You wouldn't want to sell your Ethereum for Cardano here, because it's already ran up crazy. You would want to sell your Ethereum for Cardano when it's down here in the green range or even the yellow range, because it's underperforming. And then you could sell back into Ethereum when it goes up here into the more risky areas. And here, let's look at the Cardano charts. Oh my god, Cardano's $2 now, man. Damn. See, his last video, it was like around here. Okay, so we're at $2, right? Breaking out strong. Look at the daily. Huge volume yesterday on the breakout, continuing up. And look at the Cardano Ethereum pair. So, like he was talking about, the potential gain. So, I have some price ranges here for targets. So, possible 60% move. Look, it already dropped from February down to May, like 60% against ETH. Like Ethereum outperformed it by 60%, but now it's trying to bounce back. So you got a 60% target there, or you got an 80% target to right here, to this resistance, or to a final peak of about like 200%, but you kind of don't really want to wait till it gets all the way up here. It's very risky, and you can see it just wicked. It didn't close up there. So there's the Cardano Ethereum pair. Let's go to the daily. Look, it broke out yesterday, strong volume, past this almost 2-month downtrend perfectly today, retested trendline support, hopefully can continue its move up. And the Cardano Bitcoin pair, let's look at the weekly. Got like how much, like a 50% move towards this upside, or like a 120% gain against Bitcoin. So this looks good. Ethereum chart is breaking out, and the US dollar chart looks good. So all three look good.
Times where it makes more sense, and when you're back in the yellow region, it makes a lot more sense than doing it up in the red region. And when you're down here, I mean, we've only been down here like 4 times, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've only been down there 4 times. So whenever we're in that region, it's a great opportunity to pick up some ADA against Ethereum. So again, you can sort of see how we look at things from a macro perspective. We don't really care about things that happen on the daily time frame. I have 5 major coins. I have a few others that I trade as well, and there's enough coins to where there's every single month there's some major milestone happening, right? Whether it's some crazy extension of one coin against Ethereum, or maybe one coin's very undervalued against Bitcoin. And so I think by sticking to say 5, maybe 7 main coins in your portfolio, I have more coins than that in my portfolio, but those coins would Bitcoin, Ethereum, Linkade, and DOT constitute like 90 to 95% of my portfolio. Then it helps you to focus on, okay, what are these major momentum shifts in the market? Because none of us can really predict short-term moves. It's just like a random walk, and it's hard to really know what's going to happen in the short term. But whenever we're back in these regions against Ethereum, it's more likely to go up, and when we're up in these regions, it's more likely to go down. But
yep. So when you're in the green region, more likely that Cardano will outperform and it will go up here. When you're up in these regions, these higher risk areas, Cardano may be losing momentum, is more likely to go down. And he always talks about a long time horizon, right? We can't predict like the short-term movements, but we could more so possibly time a longer-term trend. So look at them, looking at the weekly chart. We're looking at weeklies mostly.
But as we're seeing right now, that doesn't necessarily mean the ADA USD valuation has to go down, because it's not, right? ADA USD is going sideways. It just gives you an idea that is selling your ADA for Ether at this time a good idea? It makes more sense here than it does down here. So the whole idea is to, is to figure out, when does it make sense to not necessarily trade one for the other, but if you're accumulating crypto, try to figure out which ones are undervalued with respect to the other cryptocurrencies, so you can get maybe the most like bang for your buck in the short term.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm seeing from both the
So that was a great explanation. Trying to figure out what is undervalued compared to another coin and where you can get the most bang for your buck. That's what we're trying to do when charting these different pairs.
Cardano versus ETH and Cardano versus Bitcoin is right now, we're not late, we're not early, we're right in the middle of this, let's call it a Cardano bull market. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so I mean, really, I've often said, there's been a lot of crazy price predictions for ADA. I think that, in the grand scheme of the market cycle, I think that it's going to go much higher than where it currently is. If I had to throw a ballpark number out there, I would say somewhere between like $5 to $10 is my guess. But again, this is one of those things where if I'm wrong because it goes higher than $10, like that's something I don't mind being wrong about. My strategy is never like an all-in or all-out approach. It's more like just dynamically DCing out of the market. Like, in the same way you move into the market, you can also move out, right? You don't have to go all out at the same time. You can just kind of take profits along the way. You're not going to go broke taking profits, right? You're not going to go broke taking profits. So, if I'm selling ADA one day at $8 or $9 and it goes to $12, I'll still have a little bit. So I would say,
so like you said, you never go broke taking profits. You can take profits on the whole way up. So take profits here, take some profits here, take some profits wherever next, and then continue to dollar cost average out as well as you're gaining, either into Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coins, or US dollar, whichever you want.
Probably somewhere between $5 to $10 this market cycle. But I can also tell you too that if we go there, it's going to be one crazy journey, and we're not going to go straight to those levels, right? We're probably going to have some major pullbacks along the way. And the way we look at that is noting that Ethereum had some pretty major pullbacks last cycle as well. But everyone looks at Ethereum and remembers it as, the last cycle was just this crazy bull market. But remember, even with Ethereum, it still was capable of going down 60% at times. 60, 70%. So that happened a couple times when Ethereum had a 60 to 70% pullback. So could ADA do the same at various phases? Of course. I mean, maybe one day it goes to $3 and then has a pullback to $1.50 or something, So I think that it can go to those levels, but it's certainly not going to be an easy ride by any stretch of the imagination.
Damn, $5 to $10 ADA. I mean, I kind of believe it, man. It's like, seems to me like the cycle is going to be similar to a 2017, but there's just way more infrastructure, and coins that are developing and have great narratives are going to do well. And I mean, as long as people are speculating hard on ETH, as long as people like ETH, and it's obvious like what kind of trade-offs ETH has and how there are high gas fees, I think people are going to be interested in things like Cardano.
Exactly, and it's sort of buying the narrative, right? Like buying. That's exactly what people are going to think, and I mean, it makes sense to think that, and that's why ADA is one of my primary hedges against Ethereum, because this isn't the first time we're going to see that type of that type of mentality play out, like where we saw ADA go up against Ethereum, over several weeks like crazy. It's not the first time we've seen it, and it's not going to be the last, right? So it's just a matter of time before we get back to that phase of the cycle. Right now, it's Ethereum's time to shine, and remember, when Ethereum's moving like this, most altcoins are not, and so we just sort of have to bide our time. And by the way, remember too, if ADA USD keeps going sideways and Ether keeps skyrocketing, I mean, that's where this is going. I mean, it's still going down, and that can present an opportunity, right? But the downside is that at that point, like imagine Ethereum just keeps going up for a couple weeks or something. If this keeps coming down, this is probably when some people are going to think, oh, okay, now it's time to sell my ADA for ETH, you know. But really, you should be thinking about it the other way around. Like, no, you don't chase the pump, right? You try to de-risk by getting out of the one that's been pumping like crazy for months and months and months, and go back to the one that maybe has been stabilized for a couple months.
I loved this perspective. This is exactly why I subscribe. Benjamin, final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience, and thank you so much for coming on our channel.
Yeah, I think navigating crypto is really challenging, especially for new people to the space. You know, the volatility can turn some stomachs for sure. I think, you know, no matter really what you subscribe to in terms of where Bitcoin is headed or how high exactly it's going to go, I think most people would agree, and most models show that time is on our side with Bitcoin. In the grand scheme of the market cycle, we can have corrections. In the grand scheme of the market cycle, time is on our side with Bitcoin. And if time is on our side with Bitcoin, then time is on our side with altcoins. So I think I'll just leave them with that. Don't stress about the daily moves. Just take a step back, go outside, and just sort of ride the market cycle. And hopefully we're going to a place we all want to be.
To the moon. All right. Thank you so much, Benjamin.
All right, so he talked about buying the narrative, right? So that's why you have to kind of have some type of understanding of what Cardano is. Like, it's a smart contract platform similar to ETH where you could build stuff on it. And I think Cardano has smart contracts coming up over summer, and it has like a lot of retail hype. Like, a lot of people like Cardano because it's quote unquote cheap and you can get a lot of it. So you got to kind of think like a retail regular person as well in this, and you could think of it as a hedge against Ethereum. And like, you just click Ethereum on CoinGecko, click this top smart contract platform plays, see Cardano there, you can see link there. So that's why you have to know what section or what part of crypto your particular coin applies to. And DOT should be in here too. It is its own smart contract platform play, but it's under Polkadot ecosystem. I don't know, it has its own ecosystem under it, just like Ethereum has its own ecosystem. All right, let's just look at DOT price real quick before we go. It's a long video, but there's a lot to discuss. And you can see it was just ranging, and now it really is trying to break out. Drew a resistance right here around 46, 45 bucks, and look at the volume yesterday and today, breaking out strong volume above resistance now. But look at the DOT Ethereum pair, man. This shit has gotten killed to the bottom. It's like 65% drop from March 2021 to now, because DOT, the US dollar chart, has just been ranging, right? Just hanging out here, but Ethereum has went crazy during that time. So now we would want to see like some type of breakout above like this trend line. It looks like we might be getting it here. If we can flip this resistance level right here from 2020 into support, you could possibly see a further move up for DOT to outperform Ethereum, maybe to somewhere around here like 65%, or if you go all the way to the top, like 120%, something like that. And look at the Bitcoin pair. Like, DOT is outperforming Bitcoin. We're already at all-time highs, but looks like this move is just getting started too. Similar to the USD chart, right? It was just ranging here, and then now we're breaking out strong because Bitcoin is just chilling or has been going down, but DOT is significantly moving. And there is an event, DOT May 19. Okay, right here. There's an event called Polkadot Decoded on May 19th. Today is May 14th. Polkadot and Kusama are going to release some news. Possible announcement about parachains or something, and this will be a big catalyst for Polkadot. So you have to kind of stay up to date with the news with these coins too. Just like Ethereum has EIP 1559 in July. This is the biggest event for Polkadot for the year. So that could be a reason why price is pumping too. All right, and last thing, let's look at MATIC. MATIC, crazy ass play. Okay, look at MATIC US dollar, right? 1.43. So I don't know what's going on with TradingView. The price is off here, but you can see here on top right, MATIC's at 1.43. Breaking out US dollar chart, look at that MATIC ETH pair. At all-time highs as well. And MATIC Bitcoin pair as well here. Breaking out to crazy all-time highs. And you could even see it here on CoinGecko. Look at the blue line, the red line, and the orange line. They're all at highs right now. So this is like the point, kind of like the 88 ETH chart, where he was saying you want to start possibly taking profits on this. You could take off certain percentages of your holdings, but it's also difficult here because you'll see some predictions from big traders like Osaka saying MATIC is going to $2. So you could see the psychology playing out. And people are really bullish. Let's see, $10. This is where you can get messed up. $3, $2 is FUD. It's like we're aiming too low, but this is the part where it's getting more risky actually. So you want to think about possibly taking some profits off the table. And there's this tweet here. I posted this on my story. MATIC targets. So 1.5 was his 4 target, and then his next target's $2. So it's lining up with this tweet, $2. You like to see that. And then 360 Traders, another good trader. Look at him, 110K followers. And he literally just draws channels and support resistance. And there's a pennant. And he's saying it can go to $2 here as well. But it can go even higher to 3, possibly 3.5, 4, whatever. So there is still some possible room, but you always want to be taking profits off the table incrementally, de-risking yourself from any downside and locking in gains. All right, hope this was useful. Please like, comment, subscribe. Sorry for the long video, but just dig into this, keep researching, studying, keep charting, take all the screen time, and just be consistent. Enjoy this bull market while it lasts, while we're here. We're right in the middle of it, and take advantage of it while you can. All right, have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.